Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Blast Motion podcast. Today, we have a great guest with us. Today, we have Max Homick, who is one of our customer success reps here at Blast. Max has all the knowledge in the world. He started with us in our customer service standpoint and was helping with product support, really got his hands on with customers, and now helps our customers be successful on the West Side. Max, today our topic is we're going to talk about how to bring on Blast Motion with almost guaranteed success. We're going to go over 5 key points Max is going to talk through. He has helped tons of customers implement Blast to help them have success in their programs with technology. So we're going to go through some of those today. Max, how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Sitting up here at the
Awesome.
headquarters into the office for a day. So excited to be here. Talk through some stuff with you.
Awesome. Before we get started, fun fact, Max and I have known each other for a while, and I have only popped up, and struck out against him. So we go way back. Today, we're actually here talking about Blast too. So this will be fun.
Yeah.
Max, let's get started. Let's get right into it. What is the first thing we're going to talk about when we're talking about bringing on Blast in an organization to help with success?
Yeah, absolutely. So first thing on my list, I titled it here in my notes, sharing the love. It's super important to kind of let other coaches in on what we are doing with Blast and how we plan to bring it in. Sometimes, what you want to avoid is one coach taking on too much work and kind of being overwhelmed. We know that coaches are really busy handling a bunch of different things, from parents to scheduling to, dealing with however many, kids or athletes are on your team. So sharing the love and letting other coaches get involved with Blast, whether that's, right from the beginning and doing training with one of our customer success reps, or whether that's, one coach training other coaches themselves. Just because it's super important, one, it takes a little work off of one coach's plate. It shares the love, and then it also starts to incorporate it into what you're doing with your team or your organization. When you have multiple coaches who are knowledgeable about Blast, it just helps with communication with the players. And then it also helps coaches bounce ideas back and forth off of each other as well, whether it's something they're talking about, development with a specific player, or incorporating different things into their practices or training. So being able to, get multiple coaches on board, just really beneficial, especially for the players, and when you're implementing something new to your team.
Awesome. I think one of the other things to add there is a great way as a baseline is we do have a free certification course on our website, or it can be found in Blast Connect. Also a great way to get everybody on the same page for some of that educational stuff and to build off of that. Those are great points, Max. What is our second point? Now we've got some coaches educated. What is the second thing we're going to focus on?
We want to kind of understand that data is a journey. We don't want to overcomplicate things by trying to incorporate too much too soon. So an example, we don't want to try to implement all 10 data points all at one time. I like to remind people that, the good old analogy, it's a marathon and not a sprint, right? Player development takes time. It happens over the course of months and years. And implementing data Blast specifically is kind of the same thing. I really like to, when we're working with coaches, have a core set of data points that we're looking at. One, it really helps the coaches learn specifically what we're looking at. And then two, it also really helps with that communication with the players. So understanding that, building blocks of data, starting off focusing on 2 metrics, really making sure that we dial in those 2 specific areas, and then adding things as they come up. For instance, if, kind of like what you guys touched on in the last podcast, maybe focusing on early connection and bat speed is a really good place to start. And then building upon that as we go down that journey, starting to incorporate, something like attack angle or rotational acceleration, and just understanding the whole goal with implementing data, right, is we want to be better in the future than we are now. So it's a building blocks. We start to incorporate it. We start to get to work. And then, whether that's checking back in every 4 to 6 weeks, the ultimate goal is we want to be better in 6 months than we are now. We want to be better at the start of the season than we are now. So understanding that it is a journey, we're not going to, most likely day one, we're not going to get up fully on board on every single data point we have to offer, but having a good base understanding of stuff to focus on moving forward and building upon that is huge.
Yeah, Max, I'm glad you brought up some of the metrics we talked about last episode. We're not specifically digging into those today, but early connection, attack angle, bat speed, three easy ones to look into and kind of get started. As a coach, too, I mean, I was on a call today walking through it with one of our coaches out in Georgia, and he starts to see a lot of things that he teaches and is now having some of the numbers to support it. So I think everyone's
Yeah.
always going to build a bridge between our metrics and things that they do in their program to really help it be a strong building block for success. I think that ties us right into our third point, Max. What should coaches be doing once they understand these metrics and they start implementing in their program?
Yeah, so another really kind of a fun way I like to think about it is coaches experimenting with their swing, especially right when you kind of get on board. Maybe if you haven't had a lot of experience with data in the past, um, it's fun to start taking swings yourself and understanding the data. So maybe, taking some swings and seeing how you can change your swing in certain ways to manipulate your early connection, whether that's good or a bad change. Because if we can start to understand understand how the data affects some of our movements in our swing, it helps us communicate with the players. So once you start to get data flowing in for your players, um, and you can see, whether they have a good area of their swing or a bad area of the swing, if we can experiment a little bit ourselves, it kind of allows you to, it just helps, I think, with communication with your players. Because the biggest thing is with coaches and players, you want to have a really good open form of communication, asking good questions on both sides. And I think it really helps. I kind of got to do something similar when I first started at Blast. I got to go back in the lab and, I'd get X amount of time per day to go just start taking swings and seeing how the data reflects on my own swing and seeing, okay, if I change this, my bat speed improves, or if I change this, my early connection suffers. So you start to kind of it's the feel versus real idea, and you start to understand some of those feelings. And I think it can only help with communicating that with players.
Great stuff. All right. So just to recap kind of where we've been on these five. The first one was sharing the love. We want to let all the coaches in on what we're doing, help build some communication, some language within our program. We've got some building blocks across the board. Number two was not overcomplicating the data. It's a journey. So we want to start slowly building with one metric or two and then slowly working into our program. And then third, we're going to go ahead and experiment with our own swing. We're going to learn how certain changes we make affect metrics to help give us a better understanding to work with each player. They're going to be unique in their own way and they're going to have different needs. And as coaches, we're used to that. So understanding how these change are going to be good. So Max, now that we have a good foundation of everything that's going on, number four, what is that going to be? I know we want to be focusing on getting better with Blast, but now we're kind of getting on the field and actual application. What do we have?
Yeah, one thing I've seen is really, really cool is interesting, fun, creative ways of how to store and house Blast where you guys are at. A couple examples on the screen here. So whether that's the clubhouse, the locker room, a storage shed, if you have a space at your field to store the Blast, I think it really helps incorporating it into the routine and the culture of what you do. The players are seeing it every day. They're right there. They're easily available. These ones on the screen are great. They're relatively non-expensive ways to have a cool, clean, organized place to store all of your sensors. On the left here, we have Notre Dame High School. They have a coach who's really good with his hands, who built some wood platforms for the sensors to stay on. They're all on a charger with the cords flowing out the back into a large charging port. In the middle, we have PDX Eastside and the Legends. Really cool, almost like what you would see in a classroom that would store school supplies. They pull out, and each sensor is sitting there on a charging pad, flowing back. And same thing on the right, Santa Clara. Really cool thing Santa Clara did. They have the school logo, which looks really cool, and they have the uniform number, so everyone knows, what sensor is whose, who it belongs to, and they know, hey, at the start of the day, I get there, I grab my sensor, we go through practice, go through training, and I know it has a home right there. It keeps it clean, keeps it organized, keeps it really accessible, and it starts to build into the routine of the culture of what you guys, are doing. And I think it's fun. I've seen some other really creative ways too. Whenever I go visit people or I have conversations with customers, and we bring this up, I like to kind of collect pictures just so I can share that with other customers as well and pass that info along. But I think it keeps it clean, keeps it organized, and again, builds it into what you guys are doing.
I love this kind of stuff. All three of these, they have their team logo on there. It's right near a logo in their facility. It becomes a part of their brand. They're using tech. If anyone out there has a cool storage unit that they use for their blast motion stuff, go ahead and send that stuff over to us on social or tag us in a story. We love seeing that kind of stuff and go from there. Max, those are 4 of our 5 talking points. What is number 5? Let's take this thing.
Yeah, number 5 kind of builds off our last point here. I labeled it consistency is key, right? When we're bringing in something new, I have found that athletes in general really love consistency, whether it's with their practice plans or with scheduling. We practice on this day of the week, and it starts to build into what they do. Same thing with data and using the sensors specifically. We want to build using the sensors into our routine, into our culture, into our practices. So that way players know, hey, this is what we're doing, whether it's once a week, twice a week, or every single day. If we're consistent with data capture, it really builds into what we're doing, and the players start to understand and expect, like, this is what we're doing. And it's just like the back of our hand, right? Kids never, or I shouldn't say never, but we bring our glove, we bring our bat, we bring our bag every day. And so same thing with using the sensors. If we build it into our routine, and better yet, we don't have to rely on them bringing them if we have a sweet little storage idea. But consistency and capture is key. That way players start to understand, this is just a part of what we do, and really enjoy doing it, especially getting that instant feedback. Because at the end of the day, it's all about, one, having fun, but development is that journey, right? And in order to be on that journey, that 6-month, year-long, or 2 years, however long we're playing, we want to make sure that we're consistent in what we do and incorporate into our environment, our training, our routine. So I think that's really, really important.
Awesome stuff, Max. Those were our 5 points. Share the love. Don't overcomplicate the data. Start slow. Experiment with your own swing as a coach. Find creative ways to store blasts and make it something of your daily routine. And consistency is key. Max has onboarded so many customers. This is some great info. This is another episode of the Blast Motion podcast. We're trying to bring you digestible pieces of information to help your programs. I'm Kyle. That's Max. And thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.